Going on, everyone? John Matrix here. Hope you're all having yourselves a wonderful weekend. We're going to be jumping into some SCP universe videos here today with the Exploring series. We're going to be jumping into SCP 3300, The Rain. Links will be down below in the description, as always, to the original video without my commentary and reaction, and to the Exploring series channel. Please do me a favor. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and if you have been enjoying the Exploring series content, he's a channel that we do a lot of reactions to here on this channel. Please do me a favor hitting that sub button if you're not already subscribed to him already. He makes a lot of great content for the SCP universe, the 40K universe, and others. So do me a favor, check out his content, give the man a sub. If you would like to join us when we do these reactions live, there is a join button underneath the video, as well as a link in the description to the YouTube membership benefits and tiers that I offer. We'd love to have you guys come in here and just join in our discussions when we do these live reactions, or do these reactions live with my YouTube members. So yeah, if you've been around the channel for a while and decided you want to take your support to the next level, check that stuff out, see if you would have any interest. But with all that said, let's jump in this video. So again, this is SCP 3300, The Rain, by the Exploring series. You turn on the monitor here before you get into getting ahead of yourself here.
SCP 3300, The Rain. Rain can have a variety of effects on people and places. A little rain while outside can be annoying.
Growing up and down here in Florida, I don't know, my favorite time of year is during the fall. Like cold, dark, rainy, like fall days down here in Florida are like my favorite thing. It's cold out, especially if it's on like the weekend and you don't have to go anywhere. You can just, be lazy, lay down in bed, get yourself all bundled up, maybe start a fire or something like that out in the living room, lay down on the couch, throw on a movie or a good show or something like that, and just, I don't know. There's something about it that I love. I love cold, rainy days.
Annoying, while listening to a little rain while inside can be relaxing. A lot of rain can result in damage and loss of life, while too little rain for too long can have a similar effect.
True.
Most commonly, though,
hurricanes.
Rain represents dreariness and sadness, but also symbolizes life and rebirth.
Definitely a symbol of life. I mean, all life came from the oceans, as far as we know. It's where it all started. So without water, there would be nothing.
Brings us to SCP 3300. 3300 isn't a world-ending threat or a dark piece of horror, but it is a sad little story about the residents of an anomalous town. SCP-3300 is an event that occurs every year in the town of Clearwater, Montana, typically in June, and lasts for 6 to 18 days, the first 48 hours of which consist of a light, continuous rain over the town.
Interesting.
This rain occurs regardless of the weather in the surrounding area. After 48 hours, the light rain transitions to a severe thunderstorm, which lasts until the event is over. Notably, the town has never been observed by the Foundation during a 3300 event. Any attempt by the Foundation to enter during an event results in the total loss of personnel and equipment, or a failure to even enter the anomaly, as
Interesting. So there's a town in Montana that for, 2 to 3 weeks, there's just a continuous, rainstorm event that happens. It starts off a little drizzle, turns into a thunderstorm, and remains a thunderstorm for the remainder of the event once it hits that stage. And for some reason, SCP personnel specifically cannot observe this phenomenon. They're either assumingly killed in some way or just simply denied access. Strange.
Personnel walk in and suddenly emerge on the other side of the town. After the event finishes, every citizen of the town is gone and has been replaced with a new set of citizens.
What?
With different appearances, personalities, and memories. These new citizens will remark on the severity of the recent storm, but otherwise will show no recollection of the anomalous event and replacement.
Weird. This, I don't know. This event also, to me anyway, feels like it would be something that would happen like the northeastern part, like up in Maine or something like that. Some small town up in Maine near the ocean, or maybe up, you know, in the Pacific Northwest, some little town, you know, outside of Seattle or something like that, near the Canadian border where, you know, this event happens. I don't know. Seems kind of strange for it to happen in Montana. I don't know. That's just me. But I wonder what it is about this event that causes it swaps in new people. They remember the storm and they remark about it, but weird.
Residents of the town behave identically to normal human beings, but no record of any of them exists prior to each 3300 event.
And the fact that it, like, this event consciously somehow keeps SCP personnel specifically out of it, also weird.
Additionally, no resident is ever a match for a prior resident of the town, although they will occasionally repeat names, professions, certain memories, and broad personality traits.
I would assume that the SCP Foundation would have done DNA tests to see if there's any kind of DNA matchings. Is it a situation where, like, during the storm event, there's some kind of time dilation situation that happens where time speeds up inside this place, and so, like, generations of people you know, happen in there, you know what I'm saying? Like a storm, the period comes, and whoever is living there inside this bubble, time speeds up, so they die, but then their offspring, you know, live, and they have potential, you know, generations of family line that go through, and then, you know, when the storm goes away, it's back to normal. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of right now, but
If a resident of Clearwater is outside of the town when a 3300 event occurs, they will disappear a few days later, although any attempts to observe this disappearance will ultimately fail. Aside from all that, the residents seem to be normal human beings, none of them possessing any physical or mental abnormalities, and they don't seem to have any knowledge of the 3300 event and their strange existence.
interesting.
There's also a secondary effect associated with 3300, similar to a mild anti-memetic effect. Anyone outside of Clearwater that learns about the town or its citizens will quickly lose focus on the subject unless it's again brought to their direct attention.
So weird.
People don't forget about the town. They just have difficulty paying attention to it, even if they personally know someone that disappeared from Clearwater. This effect has likely contributed to the Foundation's overall lack of information on 3300, as despite records of it going back to the beginning of the Foundation, little information has been gleaned about it.
That's so weird.
The biggest source of information the Foundation has on Clearwater and 3300 is a handwritten journal recovered after a 3300 event that ended on June 30th, 1995. The writer has been identified as a young woman named Margaret Lane, and it contains a rare description of what goes on
Name sounds
inside
familiar
of the
for some
town
reason.
during an event. Based on the intro to the journal, it seems that Margaret has had a rough past, possibly with drug use. Margaret writes that it might be nice to have something to look back on, hopefully to remind her that things get better. She moves on to describing a recurring dream she's been having, in which she's not herself, but she's in a small hut, standing above her daughter in a bed. Her daughter is ill, with red, blotchy skin, and she prays in the dream that the disease won't take her. It seems whoever she is in the dream had a husband who succumbed to the disease, so she knows what will happen to her daughter. Another healthy person, who she refers to as a boy who thinks himself a man, calls everyone together that is still healthy. The boy grins, gestures to a bowl of water in front of him, and says that he has found the key to their salvation. She then always wakes up from the dream at this point, and has no idea what to make of it.
Interesting.
She finishes the journal section by writing that there are gray clouds on the horizon, and that they
I wonder if it's like a situation where they literally, like, these dreams are a past life situation. Like, again, is there some kind of weird time dilation thing happening? But like, people are like being born, living their lives, dying, and resurrected in this town during this event. And so, like, this dream that she's having is like a past life like experience or something. I don't know. This is very strange so far.
They need the rain.
I don't know where it's going.
When she writes again, it has been drizzling for 3 days, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop soon. Phone lines seem to be failing, and the radio says they can expect the weather to continue for at least a week.
It's also interesting that out of all of his videos that I've seen so far from the exploring series, you know, normally he's got ambient music, you know, of some sort playing in the background, and this time it's just, he just has sceneries and, you know, noises of rain. Not even like a thunderstorm. Though I wonder if as he's going through the video that will change, but I just find that interesting as well.
She mentioned someone named David who showed up and tried to entice her with some drugs, but she sent him away before her mom noticed. She writes that the rain is kind of relaxing, with a rhythm to it, and that she could get used to it. In the next entry, it seems that the 3300 event has transitioned out of the drizzling phase, as Margaret writes that she doesn't think it's ever stormed this hard in her life. The clouds are thick enough to make it look like midnight in the middle of the day, and her throat is sore from having to constantly shout over the noise. Apparently, the weather instantly flipped one moment from drizzling to drastically storming, and now both the internet and phone lines are down. The only broadcasts they've gotten from the radio have been tornado and flood warnings. She finishes the entry by mentioning that she's seen some people walking around outside when the lightning flashes.
You know, I wonder, like, is the Foundation able to get some kind of like satellite view of the town when an event happens? You know what I mean? So like they can get a top-down broad perspective, like, is the town actually being covered by a storm? Or is it a situation where, like, if they tried to view it even through a satellite from space, they wouldn't get an image, or anyone that saw the image, they would not remember it, or like other people who think upon the town have trouble focusing on it or paying attention to anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder how that would work out.
Some of them just standing there. Things really kick off with the next entry, however, as Margaret writes from the back of her friend Jared's van as they speed down a highway. Margaret thinks that she's going to die, and none of them have any idea what's going on. An hour prior, she and a group of friends were at her place playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh shit, okay.
One of them, Isabel, noticed a banging on the door, like someone trying to break it down. They were very suspicious, as it was late, and of course there was a torrential downpour going on.
Right.
But Jared went to check the peephole. He opened the door to reveal a family of 4 on Margaret's doorstep, none of them familiar to her.
That's not sus.
For a brief moment, everyone was silent, until the father of this family shoved past Jared and asked why they were in his house.
What?
Margaret's mother comes out at this point and begins to swear and yell.
Is this some kind of like... Okay, so at first I thought it was like a time dilation thing. But now I'm wondering if it's some kind of... like when the storm happens, the tethers of dimensions open up or something like that. And so like other dimensions in the space like merge together or are open, you know what I'm saying? And so like this family was caught in the storm in another universe, in another dimension, and were trying to make their way back home, and the house they got to is their house where they're from, but they crossed the threshold to this dimension. I can't remember the woman's name who's writing this down, like Margaret or something. I don't know. I'm very bad at remembering names, if you guys haven't picked that up already. But anyway, so yeah, they like crossed over the threshold, and the house that they're going to is their house in this other dimension, but it's not theirs in the one that they're currently in, you know, that kind of scenario. And so that's why there's a whole new set of people. People are like getting swapped through to different dimensions or something like that. Why though would it like not allow SCP personnel in there unless it's something that is, I don't know. I don't know. That's the only kind of thing that I'm curious about.
Yell at the man. The man began to step forward, but was halted for a moment by Jared. The man then proceeded to grab Jared and fling him across the room, causing Jared to smack against a counter and go limp.
Okay, that's a little not
The man
human.
asks again why they're in his house, and Margaret's mother now charges him with a golf club. Things get really weird, however, as she swings the golf club at his chest, and it embeds itself into his flesh. The man appears unfazed by the attack, as his skin ripples and water drips out from where the golf club is stuck.
What?
He then proceeded to calmly pull the club from his chest and walk towards Margaret's mother, who was screaming and scrambling away. He then beat her over and over with the club, only continuing to say, my house," in the same tone. The rest of the mysterious family were still in the doorway, watching, and Margaret swears that the wife was smiling.
What the fuck?
Margaret and her friends fled from the house, grabbing Jared as they did so, and they went straight for the police station. The lights in the station were all on, but the doors were locked and they couldn't see anyone inside. They decided that Jared needed to go to a hospital, so their best bet was a hospital in another town, 2 hours away.
Yikes, man.
6 hours of driving later, they're almost out of gas, and the next town is nowhere in sight. In fact, practically nothing is in sight, including road signs, gas stations, or even other cars. The storm hasn't let up since, and they don't have enough gas to make it back to Clearwater. Soon, the car runs out of gas, and Jared succumbs to his wounds. The group sits in the car and waits.
This definitely sounds like some kind of crazy horror movie, man. Some kind of like Silent Hill stuff or something like that. Or what was that movie, The Mist? I haven't seen all of it or whatever, but I don't know. That's just what it makes me think of. Weird.
Margaret then records another dream she had while sleeping in the car. It continues where her last dream left off, as she stands ankle deep in a vast river, holding the corpse of her daughter. Her daughter is nigh unrecognizable due to the disease, with her hair fallen out and her skin covered in black scabs.
Huh. Is this going to be something where she like makes some kind of pact with some kind of water spirit or God or something like that?
For some reason, however, when she looks at her deceased daughter, she feels hope instead of sorrow. She places her daughter in the river, and the body drifts on the surface until the water engulfs it. Her daughter's body becomes a part of the water, and she knows that her daughter will be taken to the sea, where she can be at peace. She then turns and wades back to shore, where she finds the diseased body of her husband and the other survivors. Each survivor is in a similar situation, holding on to the bodies of their children, families, and friends. Each body is taken into the river until only the 18 survivors remain. Margaret wakes up then to the sound of Jared evaporating.
What?
Steam.
Part of me makes me wonder if this is part of like something with the School of 76 stuff from DJ Cactus, you know, with the people in the river, like you don't recognize people in the lake or whatever. Not the river, the lake, you know. It's making me wonder if it's somehow connected to that, but I don't think it is. But I don't know. I don't know where this is going and what's happening. Like, I guess, you know, it's continuing in here, but I don't, yeah. I'm trying to think of where this is going.
fills the car as the group scrambles around Jared's body, and Margaret sees that his corpse is boiling, bubbles writhing and popping across his skin.
Jesus.
Drops of water jump off of him, scalding the others, and his body deforms as it boils and evaporates away. The heat was
Are they all actually these water people and they just don't know?
too great for any of them to touch him or try and stop it, so they just watched as he bubbled and fizzles away, leaving behind a pile of soaked clothing. A pretty inexplicable situation, but the group decides that there's no point in staying in the car and waiting to starve, so they head out into the storm. They walk less than a mile before reaching Clearwater, rather surprisingly for the group. They immediately turned around, walked a few miles, and ended up back at Clearwater. They then decided to head in a different direction, through a field. On the other side, it was Clearwater. They were pretty unsettled by the situation, obviously, but figured that whatever was going on in the town was also going on outside of it, and at least the town had food. All of the lights in Clearwater were on, but they couldn't find a single other person, and no cars either. They went to a sporting goods store next to a grocery store, as it had guns, and they began sleeping in shifts. Margaret was on shift with one of her friends, Mike, when he walked off and said he'd be back in a minute.
Yeah, that's not good.
Margaret thought he was going to the bathroom, but she then heard a gunshot.
He went and killed himself.
They found Mike's body slumped against a wall with a shotgun barrel in his mouth.
Yikes, brother.
Curiously, there was no blood to be seen, but splattered on the wall behind his head was water.
So they're all like water people or something. I don't know. It seems like, yeah, like this dream that you had, I wonder, was it some kind of past life event thing that happened and they made some kind of pact with some kind of water spirit or goddess or something? And like, but like, why would this cycle happen of them? Like, and this is how, unless this is how they're like born and they die, these water creatures. I don't know. I don't know what this is weird. It's interesting.
As they sat there next to Mike's corpse in shock, one of them eventually reached out and ran her fingers along the wound in the back of his head. Her fingertips were coated in water, causing her to begin reaching into his skull, finding only more water. In a panic, she jumped up and grabbed a nearby knife, running the blade across her arm. Water spilled from the wound.
And so, like, there can't have been a situation, like, is it just because the storm is going on that everyone is like water now? Because there had to have been times in the past before the storm happened where someone got injured and they like had actual blood or something like that. You know what I mean? Otherwise, someone would have pointed that out, right?
Then drawn to the windows of the sporting goods store, where they see hundreds of people outside, filling the street and standing in the rain. Margaret doesn't recognize any of them, but they are surrounding the building. Soon, one of Margaret's friends leaves the building, and Margaret reflects that she thought she should have done something to stop her, but couldn't, like the thought process was being blocked. As soon as she was outside, the people shifted to allow her through, and she vanished into the dark. The last thing she said before she left was, "I don't want to go back." Margaret has one last dream, in which she has become the storm. She screams out as wind whips her and the frozen rain bites at her skin, except she doesn't have a body. Every second, she rips herself apart and reforms until she is scattered over miles of this storm, trapped. Around her, she hears the screams of the other survivors from her.
So they're like literally the rain and it gets evaporated and brought back up into rain clouds. And it's like the process of, you know, water vapor forming, evaporating and turning into clouds clouds coalescing and condensing, enough water molecules coming together till it starts raining, etc. And then weird, dude.
Her village, each part of the storm as well. They struggle against it, but the storm can't be broken. Eventually, she falls, rushing to meet the ground, and for a moment, she is embraced by the earth. She feels dirt beneath her feet, the sun on her skin, and crisp air in her lungs. But then, the storm steals her again, pulling her back into it. Margaret wakes up again to find herself alone in the sporting goods store. Her last friend is gone, and there is only a puddle on the floor where she was. Margaret writes that she believes the rain is speaking to her, and she doesn't know what it's saying, but it's growing louder. She knows what it wants her to do. It wants her to rejoin it, because she is the storm's child. The strangers are all still outside, watching and waiting. Margaret knows that there's only one way this can end, whether she starves, or kills herself, or walks outside. She finishes her journal by writing, "The water is eternal. The water will remain no matter how polluted it becomes. At the end, we all become rain. I don't want to go back." If you haven't quite pieced it together, the people of Clearwater are not exactly people,
right,
in the normal sense. Most of the time, for all intents and purposes, they are, as the Foundation can't find anything anomalous about the citizens themselves. During the 3300 event every year, however, something changes, and every resident of Clearwater dies by being turned back into the water that makes up this anomalous storm. At the same time, this anomalous storm spits out a new set of people who believe that they have lived in Clearwater their entire lives. Thus, the weird family that wondered why these people were in their house. The new set of people aren't really normal either during the event.
Right.
Obviously. But once the event is over, they have no memory of being spit out from the storm. Ultimately, this storm is creating new, functional human beings that believe themselves to be as normal as the rest of us, until the next year when their existence comes to a crashing halt. The implication of the dreams, however, is that this storm and the 3300 event is the result of a ritual from some point in the past.
Yeah.
When a village attempted to save themselves from some horrendous disease. The villagers did indeed save themselves, in a way, by becoming a part of a storm.
Yeah.
But it has resulted in the continual and tragic loss of life, even if you don't consider these people to be real human beings. On the surface, SCP-3300 is about the rain and a weird event in a small town, but in the end, it's more of an existential piece about the inevitability of our passing,
life and death,
and the lack of meaning in our lives. Contemplation about the fleeting nature of life can have a variety of effects on a person, from dread to comfort, making it not that dissimilar to rain.
Interesting story. We're gonna get a quote. We're getting a quote. All right, let's do this here. "I know what it wants me to do. It wants me to join it. I'm its child and it misses me. I can't bear to be apart. What can I do? What can I do? These strangers are still outside, watching me, waiting for my choice. Because they know what my choice will be, don't they? There's only one way to end this. I don't want to go back." Yeah, an interesting story. I was wondering where it was going. You know, was it a time dilation thing and generations of people were being, you know, born and dying, you know, all that kind of stuff, and so it was like their progenitors or whatever that were coming out of there. But then you would also think that, like, at some point in time, like, technology would advance in this little bubble. But who knows? Maybe this is the SCP universe, right? So maybe there's some kind of anomalous effect that keeps that from happening. And then of course the fact that SCP personnel aren't allowed in this is also very interesting, but I guess it's also because they just weren't part of the ritual initially. But it sounds like, yes, you know, a woman who had lost her husband and was losing a child did this ritual after, like, it seems like someone found a way to do a ritual essentially that, like, where they kind of sacrificed themselves to a storm and then became the storm, and so like their consciousnesses are part of the storm. So every year when the storm comes and it rains, they get turned back into the rain and are then reabsorbed in the storm. And it's this constant, it is essentially kind of like life and death, you know, on a more of a microcosm scale, I guess you could say. I don't know if that's the right way of putting it, but like the idea again of like the life cycle of water, you know, it rains, rain evaporates, turn back into clouds, and then eventually becomes dense enough till it rains again. And so it's like, is that kind of a similar situation with people in general? We die, our bodies go into the earth and get reabsorbed into whatever, and do we then somehow get reborn into something else, whether it's human or some other kind of animal or creature, or, you know, beyond even that to the universe, you know, et cetera, you know. So like there's different layers of ways you could look at this. But interesting story. Definitely didn't go where I thought it was gonna go. Like I said, I thought it was gonna like a time dilation thing, and maybe the storm like had some kind of effect that bridged dimensions, and, you know, people were getting swapped around through different universes and dimensions. But yeah, definitely not go where I thought it was. So yeah, that was SCP 3300 The Rain by the Exploring series. Links down below in the description as always to the original video without my commentary and reaction, and to the Exploring series channel. Please do me a favor, click those links. If you enjoyed this video, go over there and give it a like. And if you enjoy the Exploring series content and you haven't hit that sub button on his channel, please do me the favor of going over there and showing the man some love, hitting that sub button on his channel. Definitely deserves it. Makes a lot of great content for the SCP universe. Excuse me. If you would like to join us when we do these reactions live, we would love to have you guys come in and join the conversations that we have while we do these reactions live. There is a join button underneath the video, as well as a link in the description to the YouTube membership benefits and tiers that I offer. You know, if you've been around the channel for a while and decide you want to take your sport to the next level, check those out and see if any of the benefits would have any kind of interest for you. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you're all having yourselves a wonderful day. We're gearing up for the holidays. We got Thanksgiving for us here in the States soon, and then those who celebrate it, you know, there's all kinds of holidays coming up, you know, Hanukkah, Christmas, you know, Kwanzaa, I think, and a bunch of other holidays around, you know, we're towards the end of the year here. So it's been a pretty you know, crazy year, but at the same time it's been a pretty fast year. So, you know, I hope going into holiday season you're all doing well, and yeah, looking forward to the start of the new year. So anyway, thanks for watching. Appreciate you. See you on the next one.